Okay, so we're back for another deep dive.
Always exciting to see what we uncover.
And this one's kind of special.
Yeah, this one comes straight from one of our listeners.
Exactly. They sent this over, and it's called Fun and Learning, Engaging Kids with Creative Activities. And I got to tell you, I was pretty intrigued just by the title,
It really grabs you, right? I mean, who
Mhm.
doesn't want more fun and learning in their lives?
Especially when you're dealing with the 3 to 5-year-old crowd.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
Right. So our listener, they're looking for ideas, ways to connect with those little ones. And get this, they also want to do it without feeling completely overwhelmed.
I think that's a universal desire for parents, right?
Definitely. And this guide, it promises just that it's packed with activities that are super easy to pull off. No need for, a degree in early childhood education or anything.
And that's a huge relief, right?
Totally. It's all about keeping things simple and achievable and the activities they focus on everyday stuff, things you probably already have around the house or can easily find.
Exactly. It's that kind of resourcefulness that makes this guide so appealing.
Absolutely. And what I really loved is that it's dedicated to a real kid, a 3.5-year-old named Advay Singh.
Oh, that's so
Right.
sweet.
His curiosity, it's like the driving force behind the whole book. So it just feels so genuine. Like these are ideas that have been tested and loved by a real kid.
That makes a huge difference. I think it adds a personal touch that you don't always get in parenting guides.
So for this deep dive, our mission is clear. We're going to dig into this guide and pull out the most engaging and easy to do creative activities for young kids.
The ones that parents can really use and the kids will actually enjoy.
Exactly. Sounds like a plan.
Let's do it.
All right. So chapter 1, it dives right into music and movement. It's called Sing and Dance Together.
Such a natural place to start, right? Music is so ingrained in us from infancy.
Totally. And it's more than just entertainment. It's actually crucial for development.
Absolutely. It helps with everything from language skills to coordination to emotional expression.
So the first activity they suggest is musical freeze dance. Have you ever heard of this one?
Oh, of course. It's a classic and so simple.
Yeah, basically you play some music, the kids dance around, then when the music stops, they have to freeze.
And then start again when the music comes back on.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting?
What's that?
They suggest using colorful spots on the floor for the kids to stand on when they freeze.
Oh, that's a nice visual cue, isn't it?
Right. It adds a little something extra and it helps with that whole, stop and go concept.
And don't underestimate the power of that stop and go. It's actually building their impulse control, which is huge for this age group.
Yeah, that ability to stop themselves from just going, going, going,
Exactly. It teaches them to pause, think, and then react.
and all disguised as a fun dance party.
The best kind of learning.
Okay, so next up we have the Rhythm Stick Orchestra.
Oh, I love this one.
So basically you gather up some wooden dowels or even chopsticks.
Whatever you have on hand.
Right. And then you let the kids bang on pots and pans to their heart's content.
I mean, who hasn't done that as a kid, right?
Totally. It's like a universal childhood experience.
And the guide actually suggests painting the sticks, which I
Mm.
think is a brilliant touch.
Oh, yeah. It makes it even more fun. And you can even get the kids involved in decorating them.
Exactly. So it's art and music all rolled into one.
And you know what's really cool about this activity?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
It's actually teaching them about rhythm and patterns.
Oh, absolutely. When they mimic rhythms you make, they're starting to understand those fundamental building blocks of music.
And patterns in general.
Right. Exactly, which are crucial for everything from math to language.
Amazing how such a simple activity can have so many benefits.
That's the beauty of it, right?
Okay. Moving right along, we have the body part song.
Like head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
You got an absolute classic.
Never gets old.
Right. And the guide suggests, starting slowly, then gradually speeding up the song as you go.
Oh, that's fun. Adds a little challenge.
And the visual they recommend is just a basic poster of a body outline.
Sometimes the simplest things are the most effective.
Totally. It's a great way to reinforce those body part names.
And it helps them develop body awareness, too, understanding where their different body parts are and how they move.
So much learning packed into a silly song.
Okay, what's next?
All right, next we have animal movement dance.
Oh, this sounds adorable.
It is, so basically you call out an animal, say elephant, and then you demonstrate how an elephant moves.
Like stomping around with your arms as a trunk.
Exactly, and the child imitates you.
Oh, I can just picture this so much fun.
Right, and for the visual, the guide suggests animal masks or even a bit of face paint.
Oh, that's a nice touch. It helps them really get into character.
Totally. And it taps into that imaginative play, which is so important at this age.
Absolutely. They're not just moving their bodies, they're embodying different creatures using their imaginations.
Okay. And the last activity in this chapter is scarf dancing.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
So you play some gentle music and give the kids lightweight scarves to wave around.
Just letting them move freely and express themselves.
And the guide suggests dimming the lights and maybe adding some LED lights for a more sensory experience.
Oh, that's a great idea. It creates a really magical atmosphere.
Totally. And the lightweight scarves are key.
Yeah, you definitely don't want anything too heavy or bulky for this.
Right. It needs to be flowy and safe.
So looking back at this first chapter, it's all about using simple materials to get kids moving and exploring music.
Absolutely. And the best part is that it doesn't have to be complicated or require any special equipment.
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
a little creativity and enthusiasm, and you're good to go.
Okay, let's move on to chapter 2, which is all about finger painting
Ah, yes. A timeless classic.
and messy.
But, oh, so much fun.
Right. And the guy, it doesn't just stop at, basic finger painting. It offers some really creative twists on the activity.
That's what I love about this guide. It takes those familiar things and elevates them.
Totally. So the first idea is called rainbow handprint.
Intriguing. What is it?
It's super simple. You dip the kid's hand in washable paint, each finger a different color of the rainbow.
Okay.
And then they press their hand onto a large sheet of paper in an arc to create a rainbow handprint.
It's so adorable. I can already picture it hanging on the fridge.
Right, and that's actually what the guide suggests displaying the finished artwork.
It's so important to celebrate those creations, isn't it?
Totally. It makes them
Okay.
feel proud, and it shows them that their work is valued.
Okay, what's the next finger painting adventure?
All right, this one's called Finger Paint Nature Scene.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
So basically you create backgrounds with finger paint, maybe a blue sky, some green grass,
Setting the scene.
and then you use actual leaves and twigs to make impressions in the paint.
Oh, I love that idea.
Right, you can make the texture of a tree trunk or the veins of a leaf.
So clever, and it gets them thinking about nature in a different way.
Totally. And the guide suggests you go on a little nature walk beforehand to collect the leaves and twigs.
Oh, that's a great way to build anticipation and get them connected to the outdoors.
And it turns the whole thing into a little adventure.
I love it.
All right, next up we have textured finger painting.
Oh, this sounds fun.
So for this one, you mix things like salt, sand, or even glitter into the finger paints.
To create different textures.
Exactly. It adds a whole new sensory element to the experience.
Brilliant and so easy to do.
Right. And the guide suggests making a little texture board with a sample of each additive.
Oh, that's smart. It gives them a visual reference and lets them explore the different textures before they start painting.
Okay, then we have finger paint color mixing.
Ah, yes. Introducing the magic of color combinations.
So you give them a piece of paper, divide it into sections, and the primary colors of finger paint,
Red, yellow, blue.
and then you show them how to mix those primary colors to create new colors.
Like red and yellow make orange.
Exactly. And the guide suggests having a simple color wheel on hand as a visual reference.
That's helpful, especially for those who are just starting to understand how colors work.
And it's one of those activities that can lead to some amazing aha moments.
Totally. They see those colors blending and transforming right before their eyes.
Okay, and the last finger painting activity in this chapter is finger paint story illustration.
I like where this is going.
So you read a story together, and then afterwards you encourage the child to illustrate scenes from the story using finger paints.
Oh, that's a wonderful way to combine literacy and art.
Right, it helps them visualize the story and express their understanding in a creative way.
And it reinforces those pre-writing skills, too.
Totally, and the guide suggests using simple storyboards as a visual aid.
That can be helpful to break the story down into key scenes.
So the big takeaway from this chapter is that finger painting can be so much more than just basic paint on paper.
It's a gateway to sensory exploration, color mixing, storytelling, and so much more.
Absolutely, and it's all about encouraging those little hands to get messy and explore.
Okay, are you ready to get even messier?
Oh, bring it on. What's next?
Chapter 3, Mud Kitchen Adventures.
Oh yes, this is where things get really good.
And gloriously muddy.
All right, so the first activity is Mud Pie Bakery.
A classic. You see those little bakers in action already.
So you set them up with some dirt water, plastic bowls, and cookie cutters.
Simple supplies.
And they get to work creating their own mud pies.
And the visual they suggest is a little menu board of mud delicacies.
That's adorable. It adds a fun pretend play element to the whole thing.
Because it's not just about making mud pies, it's about running a bakery using their imaginations.
Exactly. And pretend play is so crucial for their social and emotional development.
Absolutely. They're learning about different roles, interacting with others, and using their imaginations to create a whole scenario.
Okay, so the next mud kitchen adventure is called Mud Potion Laboratory.
This sounds intriguing.
So for this one, you give them bottles filled with mud and water, and then you add drops of food color.
To make colorful potions.
And they get to mix and experiment with different color combinations.
Feels like a science experiment and pretend play all rolled into one.
The visual they suggest is fun labels for the potions. Things like dragon breath or unicorn tears.
I love that it encourages that creative storytelling element.
Okay, next we have the Mud Sculpture Garden.
This sounds ambitious.
So for this one, you basically encourage the kids to sculpt with mud. Make little animals or abstract shapes.
And the guide suggests using sticks, leaves, and pebbles to add details.
Exactly. And they even suggest showing pictures of famous sculptures for inspiration.
Oh, that's a cool idea. It introduces them to the world of art in a hands-on way.
And it shows them that you can create art with anything, even mud.
Okay, what's next in our mud kitchen adventure?
So the next one is simply mud painting,
Back to basics.
but with a muddy twist.
Of course.
So you give them large sheets of paper and mud of different consistencies.
Oh, so they can experiment with texture.
Exactly. And they can use their hands, brushes, sticks, whatever they want to create their mud masterpieces.
And the visual suggestion here is to have a gallery exhibition of their mud paintings.
Oh, I love that. Make it a big deal. Celebrate their creativity.
Exactly. It shows them that their work is worthy of being displayed and admired.
And finally, we have the Mud Kitchen Restaurant.
Building on that bakery idea,
So they're still making mud pies, but now they're also whipping up other mud dishes.
mud soup, mud salad, the possibilities are endless.
Right, and they can use plastic dishes, play food, and even dress up in aprons to really get into character.
Oh, that's so fun. And again, it's all about encouraging that imaginative role playing.
So the key takeaway from this chapter is that mud, it's more than just dirt.
It's a magical ingredient for imaginative play, sensory exploration, and connecting with nature.
Absolutely. And the best part is it's free and readily available.
Okay, are you ready to clean up a bit and move on to Chapter 4?
Sure am. Let's hear it.
Chapter 4 is Storytime Theater.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
This chapter is all about bringing stories to life through performance and creativity.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
So the first activity is a puppet show performance.
A classic.
Exactly. And it's so easy to do. You can use sock puppets or paper bag puppets.
Decorate them with markers, fabric scraps, whatever you have.
And then choose a simple story to act out.
Maybe a favorite fairy tale, or even make up your own story.
The visual they suggest is colorful puppet faces, which just adds to the fun.
And you know what's great about puppet shows?
What's that?
They encourage kids to use their voices and their imaginations.
Absolutely. They get to step into different characters and explore different emotions.
Okay, next up, we have story stones.
Story stones, what are those?
So for this one, you collect smooth stones and then paint simple images on them.
Like a sun, a tree, an animal.
Exactly. And then you use those stones to tell a story.
Oh, I see. So you might arrange the stones in a certain order to represent the sequence of events?
Exactly, and the child can even create their own stories using the stones.
That's a great way to encourage creativity and narrative thinking.
And the visual they suggest is an illustrated guide showing different ways to use the story stones.
That's helpful, especially for those who are new to the concept.
Okay, then we have costume dress-up.
Oh, this is always a hit with kids.
So basically, you gather up old clothes or costumes
Hats, scarves, anything goes.
and let the kids go wild dressing up and acting out scenes from their favorite stories.
It's pure imaginative play.
And the visual they suggest is a costume box filled with all sorts of fun outfits.
Oh, I bet kids would love that, having their own special box of dress-up clothes.
Absolutely. It's a great way to encourage them to use their imaginations and express themselves.
Okay, what else do we have in this chapter?
All right, next is storybook bingo.
Oh, that sounds fun.
So you create bingo cards with images from a favorite story.
And then as you read the story aloud, the kids mark off the images they hear.
Exactly. It's a fun way to keep them engaged during story time.
And it reinforces their understanding of the story.
And the visual they suggest is colorful bingo cards with illustrations.
Makes it more visually appealing.
Okay, and the last activity in this chapter is create your own storybook.
Oh, wow, that's ambitious.
Well, it's actually simpler than it sounds.
Oh, okay, how does it work?
So you fold blank paper into a booklet and encourage the child to draw pictures to tell their story.
And then you write down words they dictate.
Exactly. So they become both the author and the illustrator.
That's fantastic. It gives them a real sense of ownership over their story.
And the visual they suggest is a cover page designed by the child with their title.
Oh, that's a special touch.
So the big takeaway from this chapter is that storytelling, it's not just about reading.
It's about bringing stories to life through performance art and creativity.
Absolutely. And it can be done with the simplest of materials.
Okay, are you ready for something a little more tactile?
Sure am. What's next?
Chapter 5, Bubble Wrap Popping Path.
Oh, I can already hear the pops.
This one is all about the sensory experience of bubble wrap.
Which, let's be honest, is pretty satisfying for everyone.
Okay, so the first activity is the bubble wrap walkway.
Basically, you lay out a strip of bubble wrap on the floor.
And let the child walk on it.
Barefoot.
Oh, I bet that feels amazing.
And you can even tape it down if you need to keep it in place.
And for the visual, they suggest using those colorful dance spots from the first chapter.
Yeah, that's a nice way to tie things together.
And it adds a little visual interest.
Okay, next we have bubble wrap art.
This sounds messy.
It can be, but it's also a lot of fun.
Okay, tell me more.
So you dip bubble wrap in paint
Okay.
and then press it onto paper to create textured prints.
Oh, I see. So you get those bubble shapes in the paint.
Exactly. And you can use different colors of paint to create really cool effects.
And they suggest displaying examples of these vibrant colored prints as a visual.
Right, to show the different possibilities.
Okay, what's next?
All right, then we have the bubble wrap race.
A race with bubble wrap. This sounds intriguing.
So you set up 2 parallel strips of bubble wrap.
Side by side.
And the challenge is to walk or run across the bubble wrap without popping too many bubbles.
Oh, so it's a test of speed and carefulness?
And they suggest putting colorful flags at the ends of the tracks to mark the finish line.
Adds a little competitive spirit.
Okay, next up is the bubble wrap stomp dance.
I think I can guess what this one involves.
So you play some upbeat music and encourage the kids to stomp on bubble wrap to the beat.
Oh, I bet that sound is amazing.
It is. And you can even vary the tempo of the music to change the stomping rhythm.
That's a great way to keep them engaged and challenged.
And finally, we have the bubble wrap sensory bin.
Oh, I love sensory bins.
So for this one, you fill a bin with small pieces of bubble wrap.
And other sensory materials like rice beans or even water beads.
Exactly. And you can even hide small toys in the bin for them to discover.
That adds an element of surprise and encourages exploration.
So the key takeaway from this chapter is that bubble wrap, it's not just for packing.
It's a versatile sensory material that can be used for everything from art to movement to quiet exploration.
Absolutely. And the best part is it's readily available and relatively inexpensive.
Okay, are you ready to move on to chapter 6?
Sure am.
This one is called Pebble Monsters.
Pebble monsters. Huh. Sounds cute.
It is. So basically you collect smooth pebbles
From the backyard or the park.
and then you decorate them with non-toxic paint to create monster faces.
Oh, that's adorable.
Right, and they suggest showing examples of different monster designs as a visual.
To spark creativity.
Exactly, and once you've created your pebble monsters, you can take the activity even further.
Oh, how so?
Well, the next activity is Monster Rock Garden.
So you take those painted pebble monsters and create a special garden for them.
You know, maybe a designated corner of the backyard, or even just a small planter.
And they suggest taking before and after pictures to show the progress of the monster rock garden.
That's a fun way to document the process and give the kids a sense of accomplishment.
Okay, then we have monster story creation.
Oh, I love this one.
So you choose one of the painted pebble monsters.
And then you and the child make up stories about it.
Maybe it goes on adventures, maybe it
Yeah.
has special powers.
It's all about using their imaginations and building narrative skills
And the visual they suggest is illustrations of the monster's adventures.
to further spark their imaginations.
Then we have the monster hunt.
Oh, this sounds fun.
So you hide the painted pebble monsters around the house or yard.
And give the child clues to find them.
Exactly. And they suggest creating simple maps showing where the monsters are hidden.
That adds a fun problem-solving element to the activity.
And finally, we have the monster dance party.
Oh, I love it.
So you set up a little dance floor for the pebble monster,
They play some music.
and you and the child dance around them.
It's silly and fun, and it gets them moving.
So the key takeaway from this chapter is that pebble painting can be the starting point for a whole world of imaginative play.
From creating monster gardens to telling monster stories to having monster dance parties.
Absolutely. It's all about using simple materials to spark creativity and fun.
Okay. Are you ready to get those little bodies moving again?
You bet. What's next?
Chapter 7, DIY Obstacle Course.
This sounds right up my alley.
So first up, we have the indoor obstacle course.
Perfect for those days when you can't get outside.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that you can use things you already have around the house.
Pillows, chairs, blankets,
Get creative.
and they even suggest timing how long it takes the child to complete the course.
That's a little challenge.
And they provide diagrams showing different obstacle course setups.
To give you some ideas.
Of course, then we have the outdoor obstacle course.
Taking the fun outside.
So for this one, you might use things like hula hoops to jump through cones, to weave around.
And the visual they suggest is colorful cones marking different sections of the course.
Then we have the balance beam challenge.
This is a great one for developing balance and coordination.
And it can be done indoors or out.
How do you set it up?
You can use a long piece of wood or even just a line of tape on the floor.
And they provide images demonstrating different ways to set up a balance beam.
Next, we have the animal movement course.
Oh, this sounds fun.
So basically, you incorporate animal movements into the obstacle course.
Like crawling like a bear or hopping like a frog.
Exactly. And they suggest timing how long it takes to complete the course while doing the animal movements.
That's a fun way to make it more challenging.
And finally, we have the obstacle course relay race.
Oh, this sounds competitive.
So you set up 2 teams, and they compete to see which team can complete the obstacle course the fastest.
And of course, you emphasize teamwork and good sportsmanship.
Absolutely. It's about having fun and working together.
So the key takeaway from this chapter is that obstacle courses, they're a fantastic way to get kids moving and developing important skills.
From gross motor skills to problem solving to teamwork.
And they can be adapted to any space and any budget.
Okay, are you ready for a slightly more unexpected art material?
I'm intrigued. What is it?
Chapter 8, Paper Towel Art.
Paper towels, huh? I wouldn't have thought of that.
But it's actually really versatile.
Okay, I'm listening.
So the first activity is colorful paper towel painting.
So you just paint on paper towels?
Exactly. You use watercolors and brushes and let the colors bleed and blend on the paper towel.
Oh, that's interesting. The texture of the paper towel would create some unique effects.
Right, and they suggest displaying the finished artworks to show just how beautiful they can be.
That's a good idea. I think people might be surprised by the results.
Okay, next up we have paper towel tie-dye.
Oh, tie-dye with paper towels. This sounds less messy than the traditional kind.
It is, so you fold paper towels into different shapes.
Triangles, squares, whatever.
And then dip the corners in food coloring.
And the color spreads through the paper towel, creating tie-dye patterns.
Exactly. And they provide step-by-step photos showing different folding techniques.
That's helpful.
Okay. Then we have paper towel collage.
Well, that makes sense.
So you cut up colored paper towels into different shapes
And glue them onto a larger sheet of paper.
to create a collage.
It's a great way to work on fine motor skills and create textured artwork.
Okay. Then we have nature prints using paper towel.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
So you dampen paper towels
With water.
and then press leaves and flowers onto them to create impressions.
Oh, I see. So the paper towel absorbs the color and the shape of the plant material.
Exactly. And it creates really delicate and beautiful prints.
They suggest showing before and after pictures to highlight the process.
And finally, we have paper towel puppet making.
Oh, this sounds like a fun one.
So you use paper towel rolls as the base for the puppets.
And decorate them with markers, googly eyes.
Whatever you have on hand.
And they suggest showing finished puppets ready for performances as a visual.
So the key takeaway from this chapter is that you don't need fancy art supplies to be creative.
Sometimes the most ordinary materials can lead to the most extraordinary results.
Okay, ready for chapter 9.
Bring it on.
This one is called Name Art Outdoors.
Oh, that sounds like a fun way to combine learning and nature.
Exactly. So the first activity is nature name art.
What is that?
So you write the child's name on a piece of cardboard or paper,
In big letters.
and then you go on a nature walk to collect natural materials.
Leaves and sticks pebbles.
And you use those materials to fill in the letters of their name.
Oh, I love that it's like creating a personalized piece of nature art.
And they suggest displaying the finished name art outside.
Maybe hanging on a tree or a fence.
Okay, then we have sidewalk chalk name writing.
Simple but effective.
So you give them sidewalk chalk and encourage them to write their name on the sidewalk or driveway.
And get creative with different colors and styles.
Exactly. It's a fun way to practice name recognition and pre-writing skills.
Okay, what's next?
Then we have name sand art.
Sand art. Oh, that's always a hit.
So you pour colored sand into clear containers to spell out their name.
You could even layer different colors to create a cool effect.
They suggest displaying the finished sand art somewhere special.
Next, we have flower name garden.
Oh, this is a lovely one.
So you plant flowers in pots to spell out their name.
And they get to watch the flowers grow.
It's a beautiful way to teach them about nature and patience.
And they suggest taking before and after pictures to show the progress of the growing flowers.
And finally, we have name banners.
So for this one, you create fabric banners,
And decorate them to spell out their name.
maybe with drawings or fabric paint.
And then you hang the banners outside in their play area.
So the key takeaway from this chapter is that learning their name, it can be fun and creative.
Especially when you incorporate nature and art.
Okay, are you ready for the final chapter?
Bring it on.
Chapter 10, Jumping Fun Challenge.
Oh, I bet this one is full of energy.
It is, so the first activity is jumping over hurdles.
Simple and classic.
You use soft objects like pillows or blankets as hurdles,
And encourage the child to jump over them.
and they show pictures of kids jumping over hurdles with excitement.
It's a great way to get them moving and developing coordination.
Okay, then we have jumping games with counting.
Oh, adding a cognitive element.
So you count jumps together. Maybe you set a goal of jumping 10 times,
And then you can increase the difficulty.
maybe by adding a jump rope or jumping over soft toys.
And they suggest using simple scorecards to track their progress.
Then we have the jumping dance party.
Always a good time.
You play some upbeat music and everyone jumps and dances around.
It's pure fun, and it's a great way to burn off energy.
And they show pictures of kids having a blast at these dance parties.
Then we have the obstacle jump course.
So basically, you create an obstacle course that specifically requires jumping.
Maybe jumping over pillows, jumping between cones.
And they show pictures of kids navigating the course with energy and focus.
And finally, we have the jumping challenges relay race.
So you set up teams and have them compete in a series of jumping challenges.
Like who can jump the farthest or who can jump over the most hurdles.
And again, you emphasize teamwork and cheering each other on.
So the key takeaway from this chapter is that jumping, it's not just a way to get from point A to point B.
It's a fun and challenging activity that can help kids develop important skills.
From coordination to counting to teamwork.
Absolutely. This guide, it's packed with so many amazing ideas.
And the best part is that they're all so simple and easy to do.
It really shows that you don't need a lot of fancy equipment or expensive toys to create enriching experiences for young children.
It's all about being present, being playful, and using your imagination.
So as you go about your day with those little ones, think about how you can incorporate some of these activities into your routine.
Maybe you have a spontaneous dance party. Maybe you turn a walk in the park into a nature treasure hunt.
It's about making the most of those everyday moments and creating lasting memories.
And fostering a love of learning that will last a lifetime.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time.
Keep playing, keep exploring, and keep those little minds engaged.
And don't forget to have fun.